As you can see, we are not by ourselves tonight. We're here with our guest, John Miles from JM Motorsports.
We also take a look at building up a team. We talk about the clash that just happened. We look at our league races from Tuesday and Wednesday. Do we mention the Masters again?
Yes, we do. And after that, we'll talk about sending it three wide into Bowman Gray with Noah Gregson. Just kidding. But we're going to start our show right now. Welcome to an all-new episode of iRacing's Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flook.
I'm Eric Richardson.
And as you can see, we are not alone today. So we're going to introduce our guest today sitting in with us. He's a owner of his own team, JM Motorsports. He races with us on Wednesday nights and on occasion on Tuesday nights as well. A college student at the University of Missouri, right?
Yes,
Yes,
University of
Missouri.
Missouri.
I got it. I
MIZ.
got it. I
Yep.
knew it.
Yep.
It's starting to fail, but not quite yet. And so please welcome to the show, John Miles. John, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me today.
John. So first question is, John, you're an avid listener of this show. Are you going to listen to it knowing that you're on this episode?
100% because I'm trying to limit myself to how many voice cracks. And so I don't know if I should drop my voice an octave already. I mean, this is my first ever podcast. And so I'm definitely gonna watch it back, and I know the rest of my team probably gonna use it as film just to have over my head.
So
Eric, have
be
you
honest here. How many times do you listen to us and be like, man, those guys are idiots. What are they talking about?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of it's not like a no, the most thing, like the biggest thing is, so I'm not really, this is my first year. I decided that I'm gonna attempt to watch IndyCar like all the way throughout. And so before that, like my whole entire Indy perspective was just coming from you guys. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but at least
you'll
with
find out
at least with
quickly.
NASCAR, yeah, at least with
See,
NASCAR, it was kind of refreshing to hear something that wasn't just, I mean, obviously you guys saw that I posted it, I think that you guys were my number one podcast when it came to listening and whatnot. And so Denny Hamlin's a close second. I'm sure they hate to hear that,
I,
all the NASCAR executives, but
I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah, I saw that. You shared that post where you were, in your Spotify Wrapped, our show is your number one show for the year. And I took a screenshot and I sent it to Eric. I go, take that, Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
that, Dale Jr.
It's funny. I'm not a huge fan of Hamlin right now, but a lot of the things he talks about on his podcast, I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of agree with you right there.
It
So it's kind of
hurts.
funny
Yeah.
how that works.
It hurts to. I've listened to his show a couple of times, and it's like, can't stand the guy, but he's right. Oh, that's every time I just. Yeah, he embraced that villain role.
Yeah, he did.
It was like Kyle Busch left Gibbs, left the villain role behind, becomes like elder statesman, and then Hamlin's like, I'll take it. It sounds good to me.
Well, it'll be fun to see here in a few months as we get around that halfway mark of the IndyCar season. Like, yeah, these guys are actually pretty good on it. Or, yeah, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Little both. There some days even I amaze myself. I'm like, wow, that was a pretty good thought that came out of my mouth. But yeah, it's the IndyCar season's coming up here very soon, and I sent Eric, I sent you and Andy in our group text an ad. We talk about Indy advertising and seeing it in places where we typically haven't seen it before, but we saw an envelope with for Valpak, the coupons that they send to your house every month with Joseph Newgarden saying, watch the IndyCar series on Fox. I'm like, that's different.
Okay, it's getting out there.
I mean, you know what? It's, I guess, the, over 65 demographic in the coupon club. Uh, there's people are really hardcore about coupons. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like ashamed using coupons. I feel like I'm cheating. I don't know. It's
I have no shame. If I have it, I'll use it.
But say if it's online and I can just click apply or
yeah,
something, I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, it's there. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. I feel weird like going into a store and using a coupon because I like associate myself with those like TikTok people that are like, I combined this TikTok and I walked out there with all this stuff at Walgreens for $4. So
Yeah.
I think you're pulling a
Those
fast one
poor
on
people
us.
in line behind them have to wait.
So, John, you are trying to balance iRacing in college. And Eric, I think if I tried to balance iRacing in college, it would have been very bad for me.
I know pretty much how it went. It wasn't iRacing, but it was World of Warcraft, so kind of the same thing, right?
Very, very. How how has that gone for you so far of balancing life as a college student and committing to iRacing with league racing? You get practice. You've done a couple series with us. Like, how has that worked for you as a college student?
It's been fun to say the least. I mean, so my degree right now at the University of Missouri is animal science, and the hope is at the end of the year, I guess in the fall later this year, to apply for vet school,
Nice.
to be a small animal veterinarian. And so that's the long-term goal. So I mean, I've got plenty of college left. I mean, I'm just about halfway done in the grand scheme of things, which is scary to think about now that I say it out loud. But I mean, that's part of schooling for you. But no, I mean, it's nice having that balance because I mean, honestly, it gives me something to look forward to. I mean, it keeps me in a routine of structuring things out, whereas before, and especially during the off season, I'm sat there like, okay, where are we going? Like, what's the next season's track schedule look like, and what can we do? And I mean, I think we started in season 8, I believe, and it was
That
just
sounds right. Yeah, about a year ago now.
yeah, and it was just myself racing, I believe, full time. Lane was mostly full
He was there.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was mostly full time. I think he
Also,
missed a couple of them. And then Jax just did a one off just because he was still getting adjusted to his college life. And then, I mean, to look at us now, we got 4 cars, and I've taken over kind of the role of we have somebody else helping us part time on the social media side of stuff, but I'm the one making all the paint schemes and whatnot and all that. And they have their own wants and needs. And it's kind of cool too to see whenever we started, we had like just, I mean, fake sponsors that we just pretended to be on our cars. But now it's completely different. I'm meeting like last week I met with just our local Bass Pro here in Columbia, Missouri, and they want us to do a little Black Rifle Coffee and Bass Pro collab for
oh
my
wow.
car at the end of the year.
I'll say,
And so
look at
that's how
you.
Awesome.
the yeah. And so that's how the IndyCar thing came together yesterday too. So there was Black Rifle and Bass Pro on that. That was something that they said they wouldn't mind seeing on the car. And so I mean it's nothing huge. They just sent me a couple free hats and some free coffee. But I
Hey,
mean
you know what?
to
Hey, I'd
me,
take it.
I mean it's something.
I mean, it's that's how you start. I mean, with us, we took we've been kind of minimal in the direct meetings, but we went in the affiliate marketing approach, and some of these companies like the Hydrate Spark, they killed their affiliate program, but they jumped on early. We got into like Rogue Energy, which they target people like just getting started into their gaming. And but yeah, I mean, the fact that you're getting meetings with people and they're sending you free merch, I mean, that's a pretty darn good start for sure. Especially,
Yeah, I wouldn't
you don't have
complain
a
about that.
physical car.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's virtual. I think that just goes to show just the way that I mean, the overall attention span of my generation is going. I mean, you see on the official iRacing broadcast, I mean, their viewers go up every year. I mean, especially with COVID happening, that was a huge increase in
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
just overall viewership. But I mean, to see the way this is going, I mean, hopefully it puts even more of our younger generation's eyes onto actual stock car racing because right now it's a little bit of an older demographic. But I mean, I've brought so far 15 of my college buddies here to the last 2 Kansas races just and they love
Oh,
it. They
nice.
every single one of them's gone back the next time. So I mean, I got a group of I think about 25 right now planned out, including myself, to this spring race later this year.
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we did something like that. I went to school in Evansville and we drove down to Talladega for the spring race. I think there was 8 of us. Holy cow, that's a different world there.
Oh, I,
It's
I can only imagine Vega. I mean, that's probably
that was the fans throwing beer cans at Jeff Gordon race,
Yep.
wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's
Iconic.
funny. You're going through school now. This is going to date me. I did sports studies with mass communications, but how much things have changed, and you're talking about social media in the younger generation. At no point in my classes did we talk about social media, online content, online
Wow.
advertising,
That
Facebook. I finally got to be allowed to get Facebook partway through college.
I
yeah. I mean, that's
So
huge
it's
because I mean,
totally changed. My degree is just so outdated at this
well,
point.
and on top of that too, like when the larger schools were hit up with Facebook first once they expanded out of Harvard. So, I was in Facebook in 2000, late 2003, early 2004 when our school got pulled in. But it was, it was this college thing, and it was just colleges. And then the day they announced we're opening this up to high schoolers, everybody went, great. And then they're like, oh, we're just going to open up to the general public. So your mom and your dad and your grandma can join. Like, oh, great. Oh, wonderful. I'm going to start purging my account right now. Oh, that drinking
Yeah,
photo gone.
gone. Yep,
Oh,
got to be
I was
careful.
19 in that photo. Delete.
Yep.
Yep.
It
Graduate and start applying for jobs. I went through and purged. If it could be slightly misconstrued, like, nope, gone.
I I remember where I was when somebody was explaining the concept of Twitter to me. And I was working at the IT help desk at my school. It was my last year of school. And this guy's like, oh, this Twitter thing, Ashton Kutcher's involved in it. So cool. And I'm like, what is it? And I'm like, well, you put these little messages on there and you write these messages and it's like a little mini blog. I'm like, okay. And like people look at this. Yeah, yeah. All these people are coming. I'm like, all right. That sounds really stupid, but okay. And I still haven't changed my opinion that it is really stupid, but it caught on.
It,
I mean, it's
yeah,
had a
that's a
rough
nice way
go.
of putting it.
Rough. It's had a rough going the last couple of years, but that's another story for another day. But it is wild, Eric. You mentioned just in 20 years, just how outdated marketing has become. Like,
Oh yeah, and I was taking the marketing and advertising classes, and I'm since we started this, I'm relearning everything on the fly. So at least John, you get kind of that heads up. You're in this generation and already involved in it and know what people want to see and like to hear, and it's probably a huge advantage when you go into your meetings there,
when
which
you're
is
our
Yeah,
awesome.
age, you're gonna
yeah.
be the outdated one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder too where it's going to be in 20 years from now. Because I mean, I saw this league based off just an Instagram ad, and so I mean, you guys are starting. I mean, you already hit that target audience, and obviously it worked because we're here. I mean, to see the league grow from there was probably
Oops.
8 to 10 cars in
Yeah,
season 8, and now we got a packed field of a
yeah. We
variety of
just
skill levels.
it took us a while, but yeah, last year it finally, we just like I was early on our initial season. We were running a pretty big loss as far as like the what we were paying our announcer and how much we were bringing in. And I was personally subsidizing the difference. And
Hmm.
now it's to the point that's like, okay, now I'm not taking, I don't, we put everything back in. Like there's nothing that like, I don't pocket a cent. Eric doesn't pocket a cent off of this, but everything goes back in. We put it back in. We use it for advertising. You use it for contests and stuff to keep it involved. But that day when I no longer had to self-subsidize part of our announcer dues, that was a great day. And it took a while, but
Well, and
it's
it's
just
fun too. Even the as of our filming, we raced yesterday in the IndyCar. We've had well over 100 views between YouTube and Twitch,
yeah.
which
Oh,
is
it's
awesome to
even
see.
I,
Where
I can't
a
believe
year
that.
ago we had 6 guys running.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the stats. Yeah, the when we were the behind closed doors series, it was a Twitch stream with you, Eric, running in the car because we couldn't broadcast it. And the moment that word came out that the license was coming back, like we got to get to work now. And yeah, we're on YouTube alone. We're at 134 views already, and like 90
That's
something of that was live last night. So uh,
that's
it
24 hours.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's
but
huge.
it's like it still blows my mind. Maybe it's just because I'm pushing 40 now that it's like, really? Like, you sit down and watch people playing video games? Like, I criticized my kids for pulling up YouTube videos of kids playing with toys. And I'm like, that just makes you jealous that you don't have the Barbie dream house. What?
Hmm.
Barbie dream house. Oh.
It's a common argument too. My dad would try to make because he would say like, how can you watch somebody play video games? I'm like, well, I'm watching them that somebody that's better at me than playing video games. The same way I'd watch Steph Curry shoot threes way better than
Right.
I could. I mean, it's a similar concept. It's just And I believe it's coming on even faster and faster. I mean, like I said earlier, esports is just taking over.
It, in the last so it's a few weeks ago, FS1 at like 7, and it was like a night where there wasn't like college basketball or anything, but at like 7 at night on a Thursday, they were showing the Rocket League World Championships on FS1. And I'm like, it blew my mind. I'm like, this is FS1. I mean, it's, ESPN shows like drone racing, which is another wild concept to me. But sitting down, I'm eating dinner and I'm watching people play Rocket League, and I'm like, oh crap, I get it now. I just dumped beer on my desk. This is awesome.
What
Wow.
was it? It was channel on TV like G4 or something.
Yeah,
Ahead
G4.
of
It
its
was
time. They were already playing just video games all the time and showing the competitions and stuff. I can only imagine that channel now.
it went bankrupt, I thought. Yeah, it was Tech TV, and then there was G4. It was known as something else yeah, but I think it went bankrupt and they shut it down.
Mm. That wasn't a huge thing back in the day.
But you're right. That was way ahead of its time. It just people playing Halo and World of Warcraft, and it is hard to believe too that iRacing, like when you pull up a stream and you put up you put up your video on YouTube and you select your game, it says iRacing 2008, and it's like this is the same game from 2008 when it was released. It's just been consistently updated, but it's still kind of hard to believe that iRacing has been around since 2008, and you largely didn't know about it until it hit the mainstream early on in COVID. It's like I'd heard about it, but I didn't really know anything about it. And honestly, I don't know why I never checked it out, but it's weird that it took over a decade for it to really catch on and take off like it did.
Was COVID what got you two into iRacing?
Actually,
So a
um,
lot of it really stems back to race we went back to in 2008, and even a little bit before
involves,
then.
involves this.
We we always wanted to, since we're Indiana guys, it's like, we want to field a car in the Indy 500. It'd be so cool. And we go to that race, and that's kind of
This was
F1
2008.
racing started.
Yeah. It was
So
the
we've
drive.
been
It was
around
the
for
it
a
was the
while.
drive home from the 2008 Indy 500 where we're like brainstorming this idea. We're 23 years old at this point,
I was
and we're
four
just
years
like,
old.
yeah, we're 23 years old, and we're just like, we gotta make this work. We're gonna have our own IndyCar. We're gonna start our own racing team, and yeah, and then it's just like we don't have
And
any
what,
money.
a couple of years ago, texted you something about, because I think
Yeah,
I saw the paper, our initial car design
yeah.
that just
I
said
still
F1 racing on it.
I still have we took some Indy cars. It was like coloring sheets, and we like put logos on it and put it like an FR Racing logo, which is it's like more or less the same logo we use today. But it's been sitting in my like documents folder on my computer since 2008. And you texted me like, there was a point where, you were going this way, I was going this way, and we didn't, there were a couple of years where we didn't really hear or talk to each other very much. And early on in the pandemic, we reconnected, and you texted me like, "Man, you remember FR Racing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do remember that. That would have been cool." And
Like,
like,
what if there was a way to do it? Just a
yeah,
little bit different.
yeah. 2 minutes later, I text back. I'm like, "What if we do it just not in the way we thought?" And it turned into Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. And it's like we filed for the trademark. We've got approved for the trademark last year, which I'm looking out of the wall, and that still blows my mind that this was we had a bunch of beers at the 500 idea, and now I'm looking at a United States of America U.S. Patent and Trademark Office certificate hanging on my wall with the logo on it. And it's just like, what? Yeah, and we built this. This process. We've got our endurance team. I'm wearing a shirt for our endurance team that's now for sale in the FR Racing shop. Um, plug. But it's just so wild, just like when we started this, so it's just like we didn't know where it was going. It kind of started off as just way Eric and I could stay in touch despite we're on opposite ends of the country. And it was just a random stream. We was like, hey, let's stream on Wednesday nights. And that first stream, we get online, and I go, "Welcome to Wednesday Night Dash," and I'm like, "How'd that come from?" Well, guess what?
Here
It
we are.
See,
stuck.
season 11, we got a full field of 22 cars that ran tonight. And we raced, and just like like Mark Vickers. Mark lives 20 minutes away from me. Like, I'm gonna go watch the Daytona 500 at his house here in a couple of weeks. It's like I've never would have met him had this would have happened. And it's just like we never would have met you guys and your team, and you wouldn't have met Dawson.
Oh, heck no. No, he's
Yeah,
way off in Carolina. We would have never crossed paths.
but
It's just
yeah,
fun
just
people we've met already in person and just connecting once a week on a video game.
yeah, and we get irritated with each other at times. There were a couple, there was a moment tonight with a couple of your teammates that were a little upset at some people, and
Yeah.
I said a few choice words in our private channel, like, "What are you?" Not you, but what? Somebody trying to split the middle three wide and turn three at Pocono. I'm like, "What in the hell are you doing?" Like, but it's just it's cool. It's just like they say like fake it till you make it, and there was a lot of faking it until and we have definitely haven't made it yet, but it's just unreal just in 3.5 years where we've come. And with you're sitting down and getting sponsor visits. How long have you been a team formally?
I guess formally it would have been, I mean, probably that season because I wanted to start like an Instagram page just to like showcase all of our stuff. And so it was pretty early. I think the first post we had was the Talladega win. My first and still only win.
Got one
Way
more
back
than
in
I do.
well, I mean, it's anyone's game in a super speed. I mean, right place, right time, really. But yeah, it would have been season 8, so almost a year ago now that the page came to be, and then we had a graphics update on our logo and whatnot. And like I said, I've taken somebody on to help with just the PR side of stuff, just to help with that. And now it's like a full circle. I'm meeting with, yeah, people from the local Bass Pro and whatnot. I grew up loving. I mean, before Ty Gibbs, I was a big Martin Truex Jr. fan. And then whenever he hinted at retirement, I'm like, okay, I got to start watching somebody young now. So I'm not a bandwagon whenever they're good. And so I started watching Ty Gibbs all the way back in the ARCA series. And then it just didn't line up exactly right to where they retired and one replaced the other. But so for a while there, I was rooting for two drivers. But because of the love I have for Truex, I've always been a huge Bass Pro supporter and whatnot. And I mean, I didn't even get into NASCAR till COVID, till 2020. Um, Jax was and has been my best friend since preschool.
That was going to
And
be
he
my next
grew up,
question.
yeah, he grew up right across the street. I'd literally walk across the road. And during COVID, there was no other sporting events going on, and I was bored out of my mind. And so I'd cross the street and bug the heck out of him and just drive him crazy because he'd be sitting there on his butt all Sunday for 3.5 hours at a time. I'm like, what are we doing? Like we could be outside playing basketball or something. And sure enough, I before I knew it, I was sitting there with a racing jersey on, watching the race with him. And so it probably took me 3 weeks, and I had my new driver, and I was locked.
The thing with Ty Gibbs is interesting because he obviously has talent. Yeah, there's
Hmm.
there's certain we'll call them nepo drivers that probably don't belong in the top series, but he's got talent, which me at like 20 years old or a teenager, I would have been just like Nepo baby, and but now it's like I'm 40, I don't care. Like,
He has
like
his moments, as you
good,
saw with
yeah,
Justin Haley.
yeah,
I mean,
but it's
he
like
has his moments.
Yep.
if you look at professional sports, when they're around long enough, you're going to have multiple generations. You've had multiple, Dale Jarrett is a Nepo driver, but, we look at him as one of the greats. Would he have had his opportunity had his dad, the legendary Ned Jarrett, been as good as he was? Maybe, maybe not. Look
Yeah,
at the
lots of family.
Allisons, the Petties, like they're
Earnhardt's,
multi-generation, the
Elliott's. Oh yeah,
Earnhardts. The Elliots, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And it's just like, you're around a sports round long enough, you're going to have multiple generations of athletes and drivers, they're athletes. Don't We're not starting that argument. Um, but it's like, it's like cares. Like if they can drive, they can drive. I mean, NASCAR's kind of become a rich kid sport anyway. If you look at the truck
Yes,
series,
especially in the lower series, yeah, for sure.
I forget who it was. I saw somebody got an ARCA ride. I'm like, oh yeah, who's CEO? You know, what's their parent CEO of? Oh, the CEO of Cookout. Is getting an ARCA ride. Like, of course.
Yeah, it's a massive chain.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
pretty
like
good though.
it's. Well, I mean, it's it's expensive. Like it's super expensive. As kids, like playing hockey was expensive, but like having or owning a race car, and there's so many. With hockey, it's like you need pads, you need skates, you need a stick. You go into racing, it's like, all right, I need a late model car. All right, I need a dirt. One of the many dirt cars, and then I'm like, okay, I'm out. And then I'm going to a Legends car. Then got to find my way into the truck series. It's like that's not cheap.
And then you need a full spare car when you wreck it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I broke my pad. All right, I'll spend $100 get a new set of shin guards. It's a little different, but so you said Jax you've known since preschool. What about Lane? You've been with him too for quite a while.
So, yeah, so Lane is actually an interesting story. I met Lane through Jackson, so a little bit of some background lore on both of them. I don't know if they want this public, but who cares? They were
Out
We'll
there
both,
just yell at you
now.
later.
yeah, oh well. They were both like really, really big into rodeo, believe it or not. And so like they were roping, like they were on horses about every weekend, especially
Really?
during the summer. Yeah, all throughout middle school and all throughout high school. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, and so I mean, they were full-time cowboys there for a bit. And so I went and went to one of Jax's rodeos, and he introduced me to Lane there. And turns out Lane was also a big NASCAR fan as well. And so we kind of hit it off that way. And we've been in a group chat ever since. And I mean, recently in the last couple of months, we added Dawson to it, and now it's like everyone's just it just clicks, it just works. So like there was never any weird formal introductions or anything like that. I mean, it just clicked.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just how these things come together. I remember the first time I traveled like right after school. I got a job and I traveled to a job site in rural Oregon, and they had like this town was like I don't know maybe 1,100 people. It's like 2 hours outside of Portland. They had their own rodeo arena in the middle of town. Like they had like one restaurant and they had a rodeo arena. That's all it
That's their
was.
culture. That's their
Yeah, it's just
culture. Yeah.
they have the diner, the rodeo arena. Oh yeah, there was like the little general store, grocery store that the town used, and then a school. It was like one school K through 12, but everybody Friday night, everybody it wasn't high school football. It was at the rodeo.
Yep.
That's wild. Oh man. But you guys have largely stuck to NASCAR. You jumped in and raced with us in a couple of Indy races last year. You were in one yesterday, actually, and jumped into the GT. Do you guys have any plans long term to expand on that regularly, or just is NASCAR going to be your thing?
Hopefully, right now, I mean, obviously our focus is on stock car racing, but hopefully down the road we can line up our schedules to make it work to maybe attempt to do a 12-hour race, endurance race. Dawson had a
Nice.
lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Lane was out of town on a hunting trip, and Jax just couldn't make it. He might have been out at the bars, but super big. I mean, super busy. Um, but when it comes to IndyCar, that was my first time ever actually in an IndyCar race. I've never even done the like fixed series or anything like that on the official sessions, and so it was a lot of fun. I didn't realize too, like I'd spotted Jax through his and Lane's through his and Dawson's through his in the last season, but actually getting in those cars and seeing those runs come up onto you, and I'm pretty sure I can't remember. I think it was Bill Colley. I think I just rear-ended and just I think I ended his night. But like I mean it's still I was still getting kind of used to just the gap you can kind of have. And so I'm used to stock car gap where okay, I can mentally visualize because I race in VR. And so I can kind of mentally visualize how much distance I have. And then with IndyCar, my perspective was completely thrown out the window. And so when I thought I was actually getting tucked in, I just killed him with like 3 laps to go. And I sent
It's
him, yeah.
it's
Oof.
been a lot of fun with some of our drivers who are on the NASCAR side who've jumped over and done an Indy race, and I am, I don't think I'm shocking anyone with, my talent level is not, not quite there, we'll say, but we come into the Indy race and, like, all right, guys, you're on my turf now. I'm still not great there, but it's like, all right, holding off some of the Wednesday night guys. And I'm like, this is, yeah, but get
Yeah, I'll
that.
top it with the top five. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
take
yeah,
top five.
I totally botched that restart on that green white checker, but I did get a really I finished just behind you in six, and I got this really nice run off of four. I was hoping I would catch you, but I didn't quite get there. But I noticed on the broadcast as I crossed the finish line, fastest lap. I'm like, yeah, I
I saw that. I saw
stole
that
the
too. Yeah.
fastest lap right at the line. I was like, yeah, all
Oh,
right.
and I spooked you big time running the outside.
Oh, well, I saw you coming, and you were, from my perspective, you were a lot closer than what it ended up being, and I don't know why it felt that way. I need a bigger monitor.
I need the triples.
I I tried triples for a week, and I went back to a single monitor, and I'm like, it's just not. Ugh.
Yeah, it's such a different ball game
And if
running
you
the NASCAR series on Wednesday night and the Indy on Tuesday.
The other thing with triples is if you don't have a beefy graphics card, it's not fun at all. I ended up having to upgrade to like a 16, and I ended up getting rid of the monitors and sending them back anyway. So uh, I think one of these days I'll just go up to like the 49 or 45 or one of those larger wide screens and just do a larger single, which seems like that's kind of the preferred way for a lot of people is just go up to the single large monitor instead of three like 27s or 332s or whatever.
Yeah, for my lifestyle, VR has just kind of been easy because I mean I'm moving constantly, and I think it was the Daytona race. I packed up my whole setup because I was going on a Colorado skiing trip, and so I packed up my whole entire setup and just set it up in the hotel living room and just put on the VR goggles and just went about it. But I mean, I run it
And the
with
internet held up. I guess it
a
did.
surprisingly, yeah, I don't know how. I mean, that was probably a not good race to test that out on some test out hotel Wi-Fi Daytona, but
Yeah,
it
it's
held up.
so. Are you racing on a laptop then, or did you bring a
Yeah.
piece?
So I have a laptop here. It's the same one I'm using to
Oh
record
wow,
all of this,
got
and
the
it's uh I don't know if anyone I don't know if you got how well you guys know PC specs or whatnot, but it's a 5600 Ryzen 7 and then RTX 3060 I believe,
it's about what I run in my gaming PC. Pretty
and
close
then
to
yeah
that.
my one at home is similar CPU, but I think it's a 3080, and so. It's very similar, but I mean, this thing sounds like a rocket ship taking off whenever it's loading all that stuff. I mean, you can hear those fans just going a million miles an hour. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
blows papers.
Oh yeah. So what's your wheel and pedal choice?
I am very old fashioned. I'm more of a Logitech G923, I think, the PlayStation edition, because I originally got the wheel to play my first NASCAR game was NASCAR Heat 4. If that just says how young, like how, yeah, that kind of time dates me. So NASCAR
Yeah.
Heat 4 was my first one. And because I used to play on controller and I was just getting my butt kicked left and right. And I'm like, okay, time to upgrade. And I guess it's upgrade is the term. I guess I should, yeah, in quotations. The plan is down the road. I'm kind of taking suggestions. Dawson for the Xfinity series just got a whole new lineup of Fanatec stuff. And so he doesn't want to say that's why he got better, but I'm going to say that's why he got better. I mean,
Yeah.
because it does make a difference. I think it does, especially going to a direct drive wheel.
Yeah, it does help. And the big thing is I started on a G920. Eric, you're still using, well,
Yep.
a little bit for a little bit longer. You
The
got a
pedals are
pack.
gonna
You
get
got a pack.
switched out here.
So I'll say you got a package this week. Um, but just the big complaint with the G920 and the G29 is that pedal is so soft, and they have that little like it's almost like an eraser head in there, and it just you're just like, and then you have a little bit of resistance,
It's
and
like,
it
ooh,
just
yeah.
you try to trail brake on that thing. I mean, some people do phenomenal on there, but it's hard. But we yeah, I upgraded. I hated it so much that I upgraded to a SimMagic P2000. And for like the first year, I had so many problems with it because I just didn't understand how to use it. And the brake was like, I just feel like it was like a weightlifting session just trying to use that brake. It was so stiff. And I'm like trying the spring combinations. And then I realized like, I'm an idiot. Like I over tightened this, you put the springs, you put the cap on. I'm like, I over tightened it. I'm just like, I'm so stupid. And the other problem with the P2000 that out of the box is it doesn't have a brake collar, so you have to go the full length on it. And the brake collar you have to buy separately. I mean, it's only like $20 or whatever, but
But
uh,
still, you
you
need to
need it.
include it.
Like you need
Yeah,
the brake collar, and like it just I've had major improvement. I mean, I'm still the ways to go there, but I've had a major improvement just adding that brake collar on there and shortening up the brake. I feel like I have a lot more control than I did before. And I almost sold them. I almost gave up on them and sold them. And then I'm like, well, put the brake collar on and, the control box, the old version 1 control box was pretty bad for it. They failed pretty easily, but the second one where they had the haptic sensors, the vibration sensors for your pedals, it's much better. But major update that they did there. But yeah, Logitech. Yeah, I gotta.
yeah, it's working now. I mean, it's convenient too, because like at the end of the day, I do live in a fraternity house, so I mean, if something happens to it, I'm not gonna cry over a $200 rig. I mean, something's bound to
Pedals
happen as
get
soon as
thrown
I.
over
Somebody
the
hides your
dummies.
Yeah,
$1,000 steering wheel. That's a different
yo,
story.
yeah, then I see red pretty dang quick.
This
Um,
is somebody takes
ugh.
my wheel, I will throw a huge fit. My kid's like standing close, like, don't you dare touch that. Oh man. So NASCAR got started last weekend. It went over to I will say legendary iconic Bowman Gray Stadium,
Also known as the
the
Madhouse.
Madhouse. There's a lot of places that seem to call themselves the Madhouse. Like the United Center was the Madhouse on Madison, and there's another place that I'm drawing a blank on, but
There's a lot you could just call it that.
I don't think there's really much of an argument to say it was better than Los Angeles. Like
Yeah,
I don't think I'm really shocking anybody there when I say that or starting too much controversy. Um,
actually surprised that it was better,
it
which is
it
good.
it worked out better than I thought it would. Um, I was fully expecting like these cars suck. You know, I don't know how well they're gonna do on a track, but you have like drivers like Noah Gragson who's like, I'm gonna take this thing 3 wide. I'm like,
Hope it sticks.
nope, yeah, and he made it work. Yeah, and the thing is, like, you look at IndyCar, and you need those Noah Gragsons, IndyCar has Santino Ferrucci, who are going to take those risks where you're just kind of like, oh man, he made it work. Okay, that was aggressive, but you know, there's a reason they were talking to Noah after that heat race because he decided to send it 3 wide into that tiny corner, and it worked. Had it not worked, been
You'd
interesting.
probably still be talking to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might be a fight in the parking lot, but was the racing good though? The heat races were pretty good, but I didn't really watch a ton of the main event. But was the main event good?
I mean, I thought so. I mean, and this is just comparing it to the Clash, I guess. I mean, the Clash was just, yeah, I saw what they were trying to do, and in my personal opinion, I believe the Clash should be one of those events that gets new fans, whereas the All-Star race should cater more to the classical races. So
Mm-hmm.
like have the Bowman Grays, have the um Rockinghams, have those type of tracks at the All-Star race and just reserve the Clash for like let's try something new. And so, but comparing it directly to the Clash, though, I still think it was a better product. I don't personally like that type of racing. That's kind of what we're stuck with this short track package, where the pass you kind of have to rear end them and just pray that Goodyear figures out the tire compound. But I mean, I believe just in comparison, and even the numbers, I thought I saw that it still pulled in 3.1 million views, and I saw a lot of advertising. Fox did a lot of advertising for IndyCar, but I didn't really see them advertising the
No,
Clash
no, they
necessarily.
didn't. And there's
And so,
not been a lot of Daytona advertising still.
Yeah, we've
no,
talked about
no.
that.
I mean, they're talking. We're hearing hype about they're going to be advertising for the Indy 500 and the IndyCar series during the Super Bowl. But I was like, are you going to talk about Daytona? Like, you have the Super Bowl, Fox.
It's like they're putting all their advertising in IndyCar and nothing in NASCAR.
Like they've kind of given up on it almost, which
Gonna
is a
be more
shame.
likely to see a commercial for the Masters during this
Uh,
Super Bowl than
3 weeks in a row with a Masters reference. There you go.
I had to do it.
I know. I was like, I know what you're
Just free
doing.
going. Yeah. Keep it
The
going.
the and the thing too with like this, I was showing you. I sent this like they put out this chart of how to watch the races, and it's like Xfinity Series, turn to the CW, and it's just like a bar all the way across. The Truck Series, turn on Fox or FS1 straight across. Turn on the Cup Series. All right, you start here on Fox, then you go to Amazon Prime, and then there's TNT, and then NBC. And oh, if you want it in car, you got to go subscribe to Max. And it's like
That was a big ooh. I didn't like that one.
I'm just looking at this. I'm like, God, my head hurts. I
Yeah,
just
especially
it's
with I mean, the biggest like consumer pool of people is older generations that probably doesn't have a million different streaming services. I mean, I don't know. I just hope it's worth the money for them.
that is a good point. That it's. I mean, how many people's grandma has Amazon Prime Video?
Or knows how to work it.
Right.
I mean, yeah,
You look at like the generation who has cable, and I saw this once a while back, but it said like the average age of a cable subscriber is like over 65. And because the younger generation either has Hulu or YouTube or one of those services or nothing at all and are just using Amazon or an antenna or both. And it's like Fox is getting very aggressive that they're trying to make IndyCar the domestic cool version of US version of Formula One.
because they're faster.
Yeah, they're
They've advertised that a
faster,
million times. Yep.
and we have the Indy 500, which is cool, and it is.
Hmm.
But it's like
Still the largest single day sporting event in the world.
it's just you look at NBC and it's like, all right, we're gonna put the Toronto Indy race on Peacock, and then they won't publish how many people watched it because it was probably like under 100,000. And I think it was Parker Kligerman who said this, that if you don't see a number, that typically means it's under 100,000 people watched it. It's like, how do you justify spending money on a television contract for something so expensive? So like, it's not cheap to produce. So you got cameras spread all over these road courses, and you got to have these huge crews, and then you have 60,000 people turn in. Like late night infomercials get better ratings than that at times.
I hated the back half of the NASCAR season when they're getting pushed start times so they can finish a round of golf.
That was frustrating.
It's like I don't want to start watching a race at 6 o'clock to see a random PGA event.
I
Know
mean,
if it was the Masters or Pebble Beach or something like that, that's actually a big prestigious event.
well,
Okay, that I get.
those are on CBS, so those like
Yeah, and
it's not even
it's
competing with NASCAR. But yeah, they're
at
getting
that
bumped.
point.
They're getting bumped by the NFL, and well, I guess not really bumped because it's Sunday night football. But NBC was more concerned about Sunday night football. It's like, come on, let's get this over with so we can get to Sunday night football. Which I get it. There's definitely a bigger audience for that. And the thing though that drives me nuts about Fox is, can we get rid of the cartoon caricatures of the drivers? That drives me nuts.
Yeah, they definitely have some things they need to work on. But I mean, all things considered, I don't know where they were positioned their cameras, at least for the Clash, but I think overall it was still a pretty decent product.
It was
Um,
okay. Yeah, I
Comparing
thought
it to regular Fox broadcast, I guess, but
that's the big concern with IndyCar is like, if we get the camera work from the NASCAR group on IndyCar, this is gonna be bad. But I don't know. They seem to be doing all the right things up front. We'll see if it translates into a race day broadcast that's worth watching.
Yeah, find out here not too long when they go to St. Pete.
It's coming up soon.
I'll be here before we know it.
That's been the biggest struggle with IndyCar is, I like how they're introducing the drivers to the general public and putting Joseph Newgarden on a mailing envelope. It's like the average race fan should. I said this to somebody. It's a problem that your biggest star to the casual fan or the non-fan is Elio Castroneves because he won Dancing with the Stars over 15 years ago. That's a problem. That's a big problem. But I mean, then again, you look at NASCAR. What's the average, the casual or the non-fan going to say? Oh, there's Dale Earnhardt over there.
They
Dale
might see a
died.
Kyle Busch jacket on somebody that just wears it as a fashion statement, but
You got the M&M's jackets. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe. But yeah, it's like somebody's going to reference. I mean, people, even the hardcore fans, like, way to go, Dale. It's used as like sarcasm, but yeah, they've got a lot to do. It's like they need to. You don't have that problem with the NBA. You don't have that problem with the NHL. We know who your stars are because they shove them down our throats all the time. It's like, oh, we know who Steph Curry is. We know who LeBron James is. We know who Patrick Mahomes is because it's all we hear about. They
Yep.
don't do that in auto racing and Major League Baseball too. Like it's
and when they do, they get punished. Like, I mean, look at Chastain. I mean, he made his. I mean, it was all over Sports Centers, all over all kinds of stuff for him doing that Hail Melon move. But then the very next week they
banned it.
banned it. Yeah, and so
But
like, okay,
but
you
yet
had fun,
every
but you can't
every
have it.
year they come back, they make a big deal about it
Oh
on
yeah,
socials and on TV and
yeah.
then Christopher Bell goes and does a miniature version of the same thing, and whoop,
You're disqualified.
you were
Yep.
done.
Don't mind the Hendricks, or don't mind all the Chevys over there just creating a roadblock. They're just racing hard. They're just racing hard. We're gonna completely ignore that.
It is really wild, like the manipulation by Chevy, and where it sounds like it's coming from somebody at GM that's driving this. They got upset at Parker Retzlaff last year for essentially pushing a Ford to win at Daytona. You have Chastain and what was the other one? Was it Austin Dillon? I
Uh,
forget who the other one
yeah,
was, but yeah,
Yep.
blocking at Martinsville, and,
to
and
make
it's
sure Byron got in.
yeah to make sure
Hmm.
Byron got in, and it's just like, what is the Chevy guy like? Is he some mafia? Like, what is
I
like
remember watching that.
the
It's
deal
like,
here?
wait, they're not gonna pass them. It's a moving roadblock.
Yeah, but
That
hey,
NASCAR put in that they're gonna penalize the OEMs if they're pulling stuff like that this year. So it'll be interesting to see.
my 1,200 to 1 paid out. There's a reason why I've got a Joey Logano 3-time champ sign hanging above my door now. It was fun though to actually root for a driver. I haven't actually had any like rooting interest in really any driver since Jeff Gordon retired. Honestly, I don't really think I've had an IndyCar driver that I've seriously cheered for in a long time.
Yeah, I'll catch hate. Usually it's anybody but a Team Penske car.
As I've got my Penske merch up here. Oh, let me trade my Ford hat for another.
Then our good friend Andy Mendola writing a Joseph Newgarden book.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah, working
Penske
work,
driver.
working with Team Penske
Sorry,
here.
Andy.
It made the commercial though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
It made
awesome.
the
that
commercial.
was that was so cool. I'm like, yep, Joseph Newgarden's holding a book with Eric and my name in the back of it.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's fun to like, yeah, you see that book there? Oh, it's for sale. Yeah, well, my name's in the back of it. My kid's name's in the back of it. Oh man, so we are pushing an hour already. I think I didn't start a timer. I'm notorious for that, but
Well, we are 2/3 of the way through our race week.
we are. We got a GT3 race coming up Friday night. If you're watching this Friday morning, tune in on Stadium Scene TV at 11 p.m. Eastern on Friday night for the Mount Panorama Bathurst GT3 sprint race, and I will be on the call. And Jackson, who, man, what a debut as an announcer! I mean,
I mean,
he there's
bravo.
there are some technical kinks. He's an ACC guy, and this was like he's been on iRacing for a week ish,
Wow.
week and a half. So it's like he's been doing broadcasting for like about a year, but it was all ACC, and this was his first foray into iRacing, and so wasn't fully familiar with the ATB. Oh, there are a few technical issues that happens. I mean, I used it a lot myself, and I still screw it up all the time. So, but it was really good energy. Got a lot of compliments on his broadcast, and it was it helps when you have an exciting finish too. But
Hmm.
Oh, that was a wild finish.
you're pushing it at the end there.
Oh yeah, before we took that last caution, 2 laps to go, me and myself, we were banging wheels a couple times, and there's a three-way battle up front with all sorts of movement. Congrats to Ian Miller for pulling out the victory there, and Lucas Quintrelli for finishing in second place.
Me
A
stealing the
lot of fun.
fastest lap.
And DJ, you got fast lap. I finished third at 0.155 behind the winner.
I
So
didn't
that's the type of racing that we had
yeah,
on
I
at
didn't even
Kentucky.
I didn't even know it at the time. And then when I sign out and it pops up the results and I click on it and I see my lap in purple, I'm like, wait, me? I'm like, when did I do that? And I click on it, I'm like, the last lap? Like, yeah, all right. I mean, I would have preferred a podium, but that's not a bad consolation prize. Well,
I think
but
I wore out the top line there.
yeah,
I was running that
you were
all night.
hauling. But Richmond is going to be a vastly different animal, and our first time to a track like that in this series.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've ran New Hampshire, and it's so different even than Milwaukee, and it does not run anywhere near Iowa.
No, no,
So it
it's
could be a chaotic race. Johnny may be happy you're not running that one.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of pick my battles on that one. I'm like, I know which one
Kentucky
I don't
wasn't
want to do.
Kentucky
Yeah.
wasn't a bad for a one-off. Kentucky wasn't a bad choice. Yeah, I don't know what Eric was thinking with some of the tracks on this schedule this
Yeah.
time
I saw
around.
some of them like,
I
I'll
actually
take the mile and a
made
half.
I switched two tracks between this season and next season, and that was actually Gateway and Chicagoland. I started looking at this schedule, I'm like, man, this
That is
this season is
brutal.
brutal.
You were gonna put Gateway in this season too?
Yeah,
Oh,
Gateway was going to be in over Chicago.
oh man,
Next
like
season,
gonna make me hate it.
if it works out, it could be a great season for you too. A lot of free flowing tracks and much easier to drive. This season, I think, is pretty technical. Next season is much more forgiving. That close racing is definitely going to pick up even more. So two different styles of seasons here.
Yep. So Richmond, Belle Isle, New Hampshire, Chicagoland, and Pocono, where it was the home of a wild finish last year. Mid Ohio, the mandatory trip to Indianapolis, Dover, which will be another interesting visit.
A lot of fun.
That yeah, I went out and did some testing there, and I was like, wow, once your tires are warmed up, just fly around that track
Hmm.
until they wear out. And then Auto Club, the home of my lone win. Just I made a fuel choice that actually worked in my favor. So,
So great race on Tuesday with the Indy Racing World Series, and then
oh, you
a
put
lot of
Laguna in the next season. Why would you
yep.
do that to me?
Then we
Uh,
had a lot of bumping and banging on Wednesday.
yes, indeed. Yeah, I yeah, rough night for your team, except for Dawson. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
given.
even he though, I mean, he was behind Warboy, I think, for at least 5 or 6 laps, I
No,
think. And at Pocono, that's a
it
long time.
was it was 12 laps. Nick led
Yeah, I mean,
tonight.
that's yeah, and I mean, yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, I got wrecked, I think, the first corner, and then so I was pretty much, or it was the back stretch, somewhere in the back stretch. It might have been at the end of right into turn two, and then I was just praying that I could stay in the lucky dog candidate spot, and then I did, and then of course started the second stage. It was one of the lap cars. Not going to mention who exactly, but just came down and just smoked the wall on the top of turn two, and then came down and smoked me. I'm like, great,
Oh,
let me just limp this thing around for another 10, 15 laps. And then Jax was in an incident, I believe. I don't
Yeah,
know what
he
happened
got
to Lane. I don't know what happened to Lane, but Jax was in an incident with like two to go or something.
yeah. That was
Um,
I went back and I watched that a few times, and that was at first I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty clear cut. And then I went back and watched it slow a couple times, and it's like, it looked like he may have slowed down or got a little
Yeah, it's tough
swirly
to
there.
tell because I mean, especially on the exit, it's such a tough exit coming out of one because I mean, you got to carry speed to set yourself up for the backstretch, but at the same time, I mean,
And
it's just it's
somebody
tough.
has a better run out of one, and they're right behind you. They're just gonna run you over, and
Yeah.
it's basically what happened there. Unfortunately,
There's
racing
a reason
racing
it's
incident.
the tricky triangle. It is a tough track.
It really
Hmm.
is, and it's just like I do the same stupid thing every time, where it's just like I'm trying to figure my way through, and then like 75-80% of the way through the race I figured it out, but I'm just like, now I'm just desperately trying to chase people down at the end.
Hmm.
And I I got caught behind a wreck, and I had to like not quite come to a stop, but like killed all my momentum, and then just like I'm gone. I'm now like 10 seconds behind the next person. I'm like, crap. Hey, I finished in one piece, which hasn't always happened, but uh yeah, rough night all around for a lot of us.
I'm
But we
trying
are
to think, where do we
heading
go
to
next?
Nashville, I
Nashville.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
That's
go to
right.
Nashville Super Speedway next week. So we did the Xfinity series there, so we're back. Just gonna be during the day
We've
this
done
time.
Arca and Xfinity, so now it's time for Cup.
Yeah, but we will be getting to the point where I'm gonna have to unveil that truck schedule soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, starting to get halfway through the season, so
Yeah, I
be
mean,
coming up.
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I don't
Any
know.
early spoilers? I know
I
sometimes you guys like to do that.
I don't know. I mean, I might go get a.
I think we've spoiled one, haven't we?
We did. I've been posting very non-subtle hints in the Discord, and only a few people have picked up on it. And uh, our road course race for the truck series will be a first time for this.
Yeah, first
And
Oh,
time
I
there,
think I actually, yeah, I think I know what you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
well,
I
I
think I'm,
it's
yeah,
on the real schedule too.
yeah,
yeah.
it's on the real schedule, and your hint is it involves a piece of fruit. But I posted in like December. I'm like, oh, I'm doing some testing today, and I post a screenshot of my truck, and I'm like, okay, this should be a dead giveaway, and like only two people reacted. Like,
Was there a
really?
fixed setup already for that?
There is, yeah. I think there is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is, because I think it's on an official somewhere.
Yes, but yeah. I mean, it's the worst kept secret in the Discord right now. But we will be going to Lime Rock Park for our road course race in the Truck Series next season.
It's either going to be hilarious or I can't wait to be done and forget about this night.
Let's see. I'm gonna look and see if the config is there. All right, enable fixed setups, Truck Series setup. Uh, no, where is it? That's the thing that drives me nuts with iRacing is they take setups away.
That
Um,
actually hindered us last season with Indy. There were two races. The Kentucky setup actually just didn't work.
no, it didn't. It was
And then
awful.
they took out New Hampshire. And I got in touch with iRacing and like, well, we if they're not in the official schedule, we take them out. Like,
Like, why
no,
would
you
you do
don't.
that? Like,
Why?
why would you do that? Like, we have
Leave
hosted
it in there.
races. We have hosted races. We have league races. Leave it. All right. So let's see here. We might have to go and get a little creative and say Majors doesn't even have one yet. Yeah, well,
We'll
I'll,
figure it out. We
I'll
got
throw.
time.
I think you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think I might have used the Sonoma setup for it, and it was okay. But yeah, it's the plan is to go to Lime Rock Park. But if we don't get a setup for it, well, shoot. Um, we'll
We'll
figure
figure
something
Then
something
out.
good
out.
luck. Then good luck.
But another hint we'll drop is we're gonna do a short track race at IRP. So that will be it's been a few years since we've done an IRP
We've
track
done it.
race.
I'm gonna cry as we get ready for that one.
It was bad. I remember that. I remember actually Caden McAreevy like just came out and just crushed everybody that week. But anyway, John, again, thank you for stopping by. It's been on like I'm like we gotta invite John on. We gotta invite John on. And then he messaged me and I'm like, I'm gonna do it now.
Yeah, I mean, thank you all for having me. It's been an
Oh, of
absolute pleasure.
course.
I've been listening now for literally a year, so to be able to be on here and talk to you all, it's awesome. So I appreciate the opportunity given me to not only have a race team and create all these experiences, but also just to be on here tonight.
Yeah, of course, and
And
appreciate you. Just how awesome you've been to the league and bringing in a team and staying with us and helping us figure out those some of those moments where we're sitting there like, what the hell just happened there? Like, gotta figure that one out before next time.
yeah, definitely bringing everybody, somebody to go chase there with Dawson, run with you guys, and I feel like I'm always either around you, Jax, or Lane. It's like I can't get away from you guys. Like,
Yeah, it's
come
always a
on
good
now.
time. Yeah.
Uh,
It's always a lot of fun racing.
so before you go, you want to hype your team socials and where to watch you guys?
Yeah, we'll always be racing at Stadium Scene TV on YouTube. There's a little plug right there. Yep, right there. Nice and easy to find. And then our socials, the main one we use is the Instagram, which is just at underscore JM underscore motorsports underscore. All lowercase. So it should be pretty easy to find.
Awesome. So we'll get that into the episode description so you can go click on that. You have no excuse not to. And
Go give them a follow.
yep, give them a follow and we'll see everybody back for next week. But don't forget to check out our GT race on Friday night, 11 p.m. Thanks for watching.
Thanks again. Take care.